The great George Jones has died at the age of 81. The death of this legendary artist sent me back to some of my photographs in Nashville. George Jones eluded death many times throughout his extraordinary career. Going through my photographs, I was reminded of a time when he almost died in 1999. Over the 4th of July weekend, 1999, the metal carcass of George Jones's wrecked SUV hung from a giant crane in the parking lot of Division Street Carpets in Nashville. When George cracked up in that near-fatal accident, he was listening to a rough cut of his song Choices. By George's account, he was on his cell phone and leaned over to hit the playback button on his tape deck. It's easy enough to believe that even without that half-empty bottle of vodka sloshing around on the floor, that all that technology defeated him. George Jones, like many of the world's great artists, was always defeated by the dreary demands of the 9-to-5. It was only in song where he achieved the strangest of soul-shifting freedoms. He had an intuitive sense of where to soar and when to dive and when to hover in stillness. A frightening fluidity that's more akin to how a bird flies than a human actually sings. Shortly after his accident in the SUV, he appeared at Fanfare in 2000. He was so great as a performer that day that there was nothing to suggest that he had recently been hospitalized in a near-death state. I remember George Jones's voice that day. It soared up and out. It boomed down. It clenched so fast and hard in such sharp and wrenching ways, I knew I would never catch up with it. At Fanfare that day, I went backstage just as the show was ending. He walked slowly down the steps with his faithful wife, Nancy. All of us who were there cried out his name. He walked through the crowd. He waved his hand. He walked to his tour bus. Like anyone who loves George Jones, it was a privilege. Great singers know how to make an entrance. Great singers also know how to make an exit. He was and is George Jones, country singer. Country singer.